I also wanted to touch base on kiln shelves that are used for glasswork. So with the 21-inch shelf, the 15, the 13, and the 10-inch, you've got to kind of decide ahead of time what you're going to be putting in there and what you want to do. If you're just fusing trinkets, small things, this is a great one. But when you start doing little plates, and then you start doing dishes, and then you start doing bowls, the shelves get larger. Well, a lot of people will buy a kiln, and then they go buy a mold, and this one will work on here. 10-inch shelf, little sushi dish, that works pretty well. But when you start getting larger molds, you've got to kind of factor in ahead of time what mold is going to fit on what shelf, and is it going to fit on the shelf of the kiln you have. So I always say get the largest kiln that you can afford, which makes perfect sense if you don't know what you want to do, because everybody wants to do something bigger next year than they did this year. So here's some fluoroform pieces, bases. And with these little molds, you can figure out your fuse size is going to be the 15-inch for this one about, and then we have the smaller one, but you also have to factor in the depth like we were talking about a little bit ago. If your kiln is only 6 inches deep and you have a lid coil and you're using a kiln shelf, you look at it and go, wow, I have 1-inch posts. I have a shelf about a 1/2 inch thick. Then I have a lid coil that's going to be putting a blast of heat down on my glass that's sitting on my mold, and I have to stay a couple inches away from that heat. So if your kiln's only 6 inches deep, it might be a little more troublesome to do deep slumps in a kiln 6 inches deep, because your effective slump depth might only be 4 inches. So you just have to factor that in. So here I marked the common size glass kilns: 9 inches deep, 11 inches deep, 13, and 15. And in the back you can see the stainless steel mold. It's from Gill Reynolds. Great mold. And then this is a ring. And there's a little more to it, but this one just fits a 21-inch shelf. But when you put the mold in to do the slump and a later firing, you really need a 15-inch deep kiln to be able to slump it. And the bowl in the back there was done in that mold. When you're doing bottles, people like to look at just wine bottles and say, oh, I can get 3 or 4 on a big shelf. And it's not really true, because your bottle that was 3.5 inch diameter is going to spread out to be about 6 inches wide when it actually slumps down and spreads out. So figuring out what you want to do, what molds you want to put in first, and what size pieces are going to help you a lot. And another question we get quite often is that a lot of kilns come round. Well, when they come round, what's the biggest square piece we can possibly fit on there? So on a 10-inch shelf, you can get about a 7-inch square. On a 13-inch shelf, you can get a 9-inch square. On a 15-inch shelf, you can get 10.5-inch square. And on 21-inch, it's about 14.8-inch square on top of this shelf, which has got to help you. We do make a 26-inch, have a 26-inch full shelf that's round, and it'll let you do about an 18-inch square piece on there. And one other kiln we have is kind of an odd size. It's called the JK Squared. And the shelf is 24 by 24, but we lop off the corners a little bit. And when we do that, you can get about a 20 by 20 square on that one. And then you just have to start and figure out what's the biggest diameter you need, and then what depth do you need for the slumping projects or the draping projects that you might do.